Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. I'm here today. So my name is, I'm going to introduce myself, your moderator today. I'm here, Max, from VP Sales and Marketing from Devolutions, along with Maurice, also from Devolutions. Maurice is our VP of Business Solutions. Hello, Maurice. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good. I'm really excited to be here today, along with our friend, Tim Warner. Hi, Tim. Are you there?
I sure am. Thank you for having me today.
Hey, it's great. Really excited. I don't remember, Mo. Is it the first time we have a guest speaker in one of our webinars? I think.
Yes, we did participate in a few before, but
Yeah.
It's the first time that we are hosting.
First time that we're hosting a presentation with a guest speaker. So I don't know how you feel about it, Tim.
Oh, I'm awfully psyched. I'm a big fan of RDM, so I'm looking forward to discussing it with both of you guys.
Awesome. Great. So Tim, obviously, as you just seen on the slide deck, is a Microsoft MVP, author, business analyst, industry analyst. He writes for, we know each other from Forces Ops, actually, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I've reviewed your products a few times over the years.
There you go. We've been in touch every now and then for the last couple of years. So, all right, let's dive into the presentation. So if you guys are new to Remote Desktop Manager, lets you centralize all your remote connections, consolidate your passwords and credentials in a platform that you can share within your team. I just wanted to highlight a couple of the main features. So, of course, easily launch remote connections through this. And this is something that Mo came up with, the single pane of glass. I borrowed this expression from you, Maurice.
I think I borrowed it from a customer. So
There you go. So, this kind of, I think it gives a good image of actually what Remote Desktop Manager is. Really this centralized platform for all your different credentials, remote connection, documents, passwords. You can also manage all different users, all the security between and around different users and privileged accesses. And then for audit purposes, you can see all the different logs and reports of who created different sessions, who changed the passwords, who did use the session, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes it very useful for audit, and we've also seen for billing purposes, for NSPs, for example.
Yeah, we have simple timers for embedded sessions, right?
There you go. Mm-hmm. So a quick view of the main dashboard in Remote Desktop Manager. If you've been with us for the last few years, I think this may be the biggest, wouldn't say features, but the dashboard is pretty much like seamless nowadays, right? It came up a long way from version 5, 6, and 7 in the time.
Yes, and it's really, you use it day in, day out.
Yeah.
Our tree view, you see our customers call it their favorites, but it's basically a list that is customized to your department or organization. So
here's the tree view that Maurice is speaking about, the ribbon style menu at the top, and this is, of course, this image has been cropped, but this is where all the different embedded sessions will appear in your main dashboard. And you can customize it, fully customize the dashboard. If you wish to hide the different menus, you can go ahead and do it.
May I say something about that, Max?
Yeah, go ahead then.
Yeah, just from my own experience, I absolutely love that navigation list because you can create folders for different environments. I have a folder for my Azure VMs, for instance, another for on-prem, and then within on-prem, Mac and Windows, I should say. So instead of having your screen littered with RDP connections, it really is lovely to have that single pane of glass and to have a bunch of remote connections all tabbed out in the interface. It's very convenient.
There you go. Exactly. It's because we like to say that RDM, a Remote Desktop Manager, can increase productivity with the multi-tab feature that you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. This is one of the main advantages of using a remote desktop management tool like ours.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, I think the other main advantage, or one of the other main advantages, is the data source, right? I don't know if you agree, Tim, with the centralized data using a SQL Server backend, for example, is pretty powerful.
Yeah, I mean, administrators, I don't want to speak for all administrators. I guess I'll just speak for myself. I don't want to know passwords myself. I mean, in many cases you have to, but the last thing you ever want is password credentials in clear text, whether they're in script files or spreadsheets or saved RDP sessions. So the fact that you have a credential safe like this where you can bring in just about any kind of data sources you have on the slide, that is in keeping with 21st century security best practices.
Yeah, we also believe that is one of the key features of centralized management, of course, not only for, as you mentioned, just all the credential and password, but it also gives us the opportunity to manage all the different users as well.
Yeah.
With all the different security groups, roles, permissions, using a centralized DB. That being said, we also support, so what you're going to put in the database, we all have this bunch of all kind of different entry types, from remote connections, VPNs, passwords, credentials, all different documents. Mainly, I would say all the sensitive data and information within your team, within your organization, can have a place in Remote Desktop Manager to become, as we mentioned before, this single pane of glass. Speaking of remote connections, which might be our main focus right now, is to centralize all different remote connections. Maybe the most popular here, RDP, VNC, SSH, a bunch of VPNs, FTP files, PuTTY, and tools like TeamViewer, LogMeIn, and Screen Connect. Here, I wanted to show you guys a quick peek of, so on your left, you have the add-on manager, because we integrate more than 60 different add-ons. So the way it works, when we have a feature request on the Devolutions forum, we can have a dev here at Devolutions going to work on this add-on. It takes, depending on the case, it could take about 1, 2, 3 days to put in place. We also work with different users on creating different add-ons. And then I wanted also to show a list of all the different VPNs that we support in Remote Desktop Manager, just to make your life a bit easier.
Yeah, for MSPs that do not have control over the VPN technologies that are in play, it's essential to have that level.
It has become one of here at Devolutions. It's a mission for us to at least give it a try to every kind of suggestions that we might have from the users.
Yeah, sure. Our feature request board is quite active on our forum, and we do respond to most of them.
There you go. So a quick word here on the different password management solutions that there's two ways you can use it. If you're already using a password management such as, let's talk about Keepass, because let's say it's one of the most popular within our users, you can decide to import all your credentials and passwords from Keepass directly into Remote Desktop Manager, because as we've showed, we have this vault integrated in Remote Desktop Manager, so you can decide to go ahead and, if you're using Keepass or 1Password or Dashlane, import all your different passwords and credentials within the RDM using this pretty neat import tool that we made. Or you can decide to stick with your existing password manager.
Yes, and link to its content. And we have two means of achieving that goal. We have static linking and dynamic linking, but in a sense, it's the dynamic is much better. It allows you to have a single link to that other database, and then it's used transparently. So it may be for companies that have purchased another company, and what has become now just another division insists on keeping their password manager, or it can be some of your staff that insist on having private information and therefore keeping it in Keepass. So we can make use of all of this in a transparent fashion. And again, the goal is not to see these passwords. We just prefer not to see them. Huh?
Right.
I agree with Tim on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the most secure password is the password that I don't even know. I see the entry for Google Chrome on this page. I'm learning some good new stuff here. So I can actually import credentials saved in my browser into the RDM password management vault, correct?
Yeah. For that one, I would replace browser storage and not dynamically. But it is possible. Yes.
Anyone you're using, Tim, for your own password management?
Again, I'm seeing a lot of things that I use every day, and you're giving me great ideas. I use LastPass every single day and have for the last several years. Earlier, in an earlier slide, you had an entry in the entry types for LogMeIn, and I've been a LogMeIn user personally for many years. So I'm discovering new uses for this product as we're going along in the webinar. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the flexibility around the tool, around the solution is pretty huge for us to have this. Every sysadmin or every IT pro can customize the tool as they wish with their existing technologies. So that's a big feature of Remote Desktop Manager. So if we go ahead with what's new in RDM 12 now, different kind of entry types. I will bring your attention, Tim and Maurice, to, of course, the root settings that Maurice is going to show you guys in a few minutes. And I'll also introduce you to Wait Now. Wait Now, I don't know if you're aware of it, Tim, is our new remote desktop technology that we want to bring to the market within the next few months. This is our own proprietary tool that we just launched a couple of months ago. So what we did is we launched it and received the comments of our users. Right now it's available on the local area networks only, but we have a roadmap that we published on the Devolutions blog a couple of weeks ago with all different the next steps for Wait Now. I think it's going to be a good alternative to, you just mentioned LogMeIn. It could be in the future a good alternative to LogMeIn or TeamViewer or Screen Connect or all these kind of tools. But right now it's step one, so I invite you guys, if you haven't already, to take a look at Wait Now.
Will do.
A couple of UI improvements. You mentioned the multi-tab earlier. We just came out with the split view to run, let's say, SSH sessions side by side. If you want to send a command, you can view your different SSH sessions in the split view where everything is in the same screen and the same dashboard as we just saw earlier in the main dashboard of Remote Desktop Manager. In terms of security, we have two, I don't know if you want to talk about it right now, but we have two main features that we just came up with.
Yeah, role-based security. Well, in fact, we're planning for the future, and we have obviously a really flexible security system in the works for our next generation product. It's going to be hopefully as flexible as ACL in Windows is. But this is a stepping stone bringing us closer to that, and that removes some of the hassle of maintaining security groups that we had in the past. So it's a step in the right direction, and it's quite flexible, and we'll see a quick overview in a demo.
Yeah,
great.
We'll take a look at it in the next few minutes. And then the art of Remote Desktop Manager, the data source. We have come up with the multi-repositories to optimize performance, where, and Maurice is going to show it to you guys, but it's kind of creating these different subfolders within the same database. So you give the rights to the user, depending on their security groups or permissions, to their different repositories within the same database. So instead of managing different databases, you only have one, and it contains all different repositories, which makes it way better on performance and security.
Yeah, for the sysadmins as well, because they manage the same number of users and security permissions as in a single database. So we'll see the details in a few.
Yep. And we're going to also show you the new PowerShell module. Maurice came up with different scripts. And there you have the Wait Now logo just popped in. In terms of integrated tools, we'll take a look on the Devolutions web login. This is a new web browser. Instead of having one web browser extension for all different products that we have, we decided to come up with a single web login extension for Remote Desktop Manager and Password Vault Manager. It's available on Chrome, IE, Safari, Opera, and I'm missing one.
Firefox?
Firefox, there you go. Thanks, Tim. Yep, Firefox, there you go. So it's available on the main different browsers. So it's one browser for every product. And I don't know if you want to talk about it do we talk about it right now for the server?
Yeah, I might as well give a teaser because, again, looking in the future, we're working on making our Devolution server readily available to not only those users that have our desktop applications, but we are planning into adding this to the Devolution web login. So if you think of non-technical personnel that do use our product, and most often it is paired with the IT staff is using Remote Desktop Manager, and the non-technical personnel is using Password Vault Manager because it's much simpler for them.
Yeah.
But if you imagine they have a Devolution web login and they fill in their login credentials directly in that browser extension, and that one will get the credentials. So it's a much better experience for these non-technical personnel. So that's coming, in the close future.
Yeah.
What can customers do with the web login now? Can they manage their account or file support tickets? Is there anything they can do now with that feature?
Well, that aspect is going to be in our cloud platform. So the cloud platform is your customer portal in a sense.
Yeah.
And you will have your invoices, your serials, and also we plan on adding the tickets in there, the knowledge base, everything. We want to have a centralized search. You know, we have 1,300 topics in our help system nowadays,
Online.
and searching, we know that we could improve it.
Yeah.
And we want to search in the help, in the forums, in the blogs. So that's everything it's on our to-do list. I can't say that we'll make it all this year, but it's
on the radar.
Very good. Cool.
So any other questions, Tim, before we go on with the live demo, or are we all set?
I do have some questions, but they may be answered in the demo. I'm particularly interested in the role-based access control and the PowerShell support.
All right. So I'm going to change presenter to Maurice. I'm going to give you the control. There you go. So I'll let Maurice show you a quick rundown of Remote Desktop Manager and what's in Remote Desktop Manager 12.
Okay.
So Maurice, it's pretty much up to you now.
Okay, yeah. So it's not a basic demo for the product, but we're targeting new features. So let's delve right into that. Here I made use of a playlist to launch multiple sessions at the same time in one single operation. So again, I don't care about the username nor the password. I just double-clicked on the list, and it launched automatically. If this is just two, but it could be much more than that. And now I'm showcasing that split view. So now you can see that a lot of control over the positioning of these tabs. So this is that split view. And just to showcase, I can make use of another feature that is our, what's it called? Execute script in terminal. So obviously, you could select multiple workstations that are running at the same time, and you simply multi-select as many as you need, and you will be able to run these commands. So let's focus back on that. I'll do the multi-select. So again, this could be 8, 9, 10 sessions. Now I'm just trying to fit two demos in the same area. I will use the execute script in terminal. And here we can type commands that are sent to every active session that I had selected using my mouse. So I'll do something simple. It just types instead of me. And obviously, to send commands like key presses, we have a rich set of key codes. But this is just typing ifconfig.enter, enter, sorry. and it's sending them that command to all my active sessions that I had selected.
There you go.
So
That's
again,
awesome.
it could be more than one, more than two. Sorry, it doesn't relate at all to my split view feature that I wanted to showcase. But it's a great way of seeing both features in action. Yeah, so that's quite useful because a lot of our Linux IT personnel, they must do that type of work day in, day out. They launch 10 machines, do the updates, and then launch another 10. So it's quite useful for them.
Yeah.
Okay, let me launch another playlist. I'm launching again a list of our entries. This is RDP in that case. Again, these are embedded. It's our favorite way of running sessions. You could, using the dashboard, you could have elected to launch in the external display mode. In this case, it would use Microsoft's mstsc.exe, so that remote desktop client. Or you could choose other credentials, or even get the system to prompt you for credentials. So it's quite flexible. And again, this is a scenario for MSPs. Most of the times you would use inherited credentials and set the credentials only on the parent container, like we've done here. You can have the system prompt you for credentials. You can have the system really offer you a list of credentials to choose from, and you can even delve into the private vault. So that's a private area of the database that is unique to the logged on user. So any of these combinations are possible. And again, the passwords are really protected from view, and they are used really transparently. And if ever I had a VPN to launch, it would have done that as well automatically. Okay. Yeah, so to showcase that security, I'm going to switch to another identity just to show you the effect of seeing of what another user could see. So here under my telemark folder, I have a credentials subfolder which has an admin area. If I log in using a service desk employee, you see that he does have access to the entry that represents a password, but you see that he does not have access to the password. Okay, so that's with the limited permissions. He cannot get to the password of an entry, because even this one has the edit permissions. And you can see that for those users that have already seen RDM, I do not have the button to reveal the password. So that's really a great way of running things. You even allow them to edit the content, but they can never get at the password. So it's quite different from some of our competitors in that space, is that they change the passwords whenever you've used it. In our case, although we could do it with PowerShell extensions, we feel that not knowing the password is much better. And if ever I would log in as a help desk employee, you see that in that person's case, they do not even see those credentials because they do not have the permissions. So let's go back as the administrator and show you the security, the role-based permissions. And again, it's quite a short demo. We do have online documentation, and you can also contact us through the support channels to see how to set this up. But in the past, I had to create security groups, then grant permissions to that security group, and then link people to those security groups. So it was a lot of work. Now this is the permission system is right here, and by default it is inheriting. You can see besides my add and edit permissions, there's something already there, and we'll see that in a moment. just a hint, it's coming from the root, a root permission.
Yeah.
But to customize, so normally it's at default. To customize, you come in here, and then you will have an hyperlink that would allow you to choose what roles are required to have that view permission. So it's that easy. You just need to create roles that correspond to your people. So that's why I have help desk, service desk, and or your companies, your customers. So these are either departments or customers. But by having roles for all of these, I can create a really flexible system in a matter of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so by default, here you would see 3 roles would have access, but since this is the admin credentials, I've taken the time to remove, obviously, that help desk role, which are my first tier technician.
Level 1, yeah.
Yeah, so that's as easy as that, but we have a lot of flexibility, really discrete, unique permissions that we can assign. So it's much better, we feel. And again, it's just a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the roles, the root permissions that were coming, and they come from here. You see, I could set default username and passwords for everything under my tree view. That's good in a corporate environment. So we typically don't do that. But the permissions, I've elected to have a lot of people view everything, but for add, edit, I've chosen to only allow the service desk staff. Obviously, our administrators, they're basically sysadmins. They have all the rights, but by controlling the other tiers, I can get the security system that really fits any scenario. So in this case, I've decided to have only my service desk staff to be able to add or edit entries. And since this is done at the root level, every subfolder will get these permissions.
There you go. And I'm sure you can see I don't know if you agree with him, but this can really improve not only productivity, but also all the different security surrounding and around all different users, right? I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think of the term security trimming. Again, similar to what we were talking about with not knowing the password. If users shouldn't be able to use a credential, it's best for it to be completely out of their sight where they never see it to begin with, and that's what you've done here. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's all targeted to this very purpose, to not allow anyone who doesn't have the right security group, or I don't know how you want to call it, but the right security permission to show different level of security.
Yeah, and it goes farther. If I quickly launch my what is it? It's Chrome this time. This is our Devolutions web login. Okay. And if you notice here, I have an entry for cloud. So if I just navigate to cloud devolutions.net, you see that my credentials were filled in for me automatically. And since they are they are protected by our security system, there's no way for that user to get at the passwords. Mm-hmm. So not only do we do a good job with SSH and RDP and many others, but even for websites. So this is key for those of you that have hypervisors and all of these platforms that use a web management interface.
Yeah.
So they will not get at these passwords anymore.
And I'm sure you can recognize the same look and feel, or the same workflow that the one you were using like LastPass, right? It's a bit like this kind of injecting the passwords.
But typically with other managers, once you can use the password, you can view it.
Yeah.
So that's where we shine, I believe.
This is the main difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, we went in the data sources earlier. So again, this is an unlimited number of data stores or databases. I want to show you that I have here that new SQL Server custom login. In the past, we allowed for local SQL Server users or integrated security, which for some was a security risk because they could connect using SQL Management Studio, for instance. But due to popular demand, we've created that custom login for SQL Server, and this user does not exist in the database. So the sysadmin will create this file, this data source definition, and provide credentials. So this is my RDM runner account. And the end user will never get at that password. And for that user, he believes that he's using this account. And we're just running impersonation and personification, and then calculating the security permissions. But you can rest assured that for these users, they will never get at the database using any other tool. So it's quite simple. There's nothing really to show except that login does not exist in the database. And the last thing are these repositories. So there's always a default. And in Remote Desktop Manager, so running here, what's the default? So there's a default repository, so everyone is connected to their default repository. But I went ahead and created a new repository for the Germany office.
Oh.
And just by doing that, it allows me, when I do create that
filter,
that repository. And that's basically right. It's a filter. It's a hidden container within RDM. So if I do connect to that Germany repository, we see data that you didn't see previously. But what is key, if we go in the roles, you see that the same roles are there. So it's one security system, much simplified, and the performance is really better because only the data of that hidden folder is sent over the wire. So it's much better in the long run.
There you go.
In the offline performance, online performance, everything is better with that new repository system.
Yep.
Yeah, I had said it was my last thing, but I really can't go without showing you Wake now. Huh?
Wait, now, and I think if we have time, maybe PowerShell, when you...
PowerShell, yeah.
I think interesting.
So as you can see, I'm connected to a Ubuntu host. So using other technologies, you needed to use X11 forwarding and a lot of complicated stuff. Granted, this is on my local subnet only, but be assured that it's going to be an amazing product. And NAT reversal is before the holidays, Max?
I think June. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to check.
I would say autumn.
So, am I understanding the use case here is that Wake Now is a really lightweight, easy in and easy out remote access tool? So this Ubuntu server has a Wake Now server component, and you just established a client connection using probably firewall-friendly ports. Am I in the right ballpark?
You're in the ballpark. It's platform independent, Ubuntu, Mac, Windows,
Linux.
Linux, yeah, I say Ubuntu, I mean Linux. So it's multi-platform, it's really admin friendly and
lightweight, easy to use.
Quite lightweight, yes.
Yeah. And the best thing is, for the first time, and you've been following us for the last few years, Tim, we were really good at integrating different remote desktop technologies and protocols within RDM, but for the first time, we'll have control over the technology itself, right? So instead of having to deal with all different players out there, for the first time, we have total control on not only the remote desktop manager part, but also on the protocol itself, which is it's a big step for our company.
Yeah, and we have a lot of ideas and they're going to be, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think so.
So while you were talking, I went ahead and used our PowerShell module to run an export of the data. It's requested quite often. How do I automate a backup? How do I export in plain text? It's never ending. This is the PowerShell extension that we already have, but it turns out that I'm using simple commands. And yeah, it's just that one-liner, export RDM session. This is password management and then just housekeeping, but that's as easy as that. And we can, we have advanced scripts to export just the users, the groups, and so on. And this is the version that runs from within Remote Desktop Manager, but by adding a simple line to import the module, which PowerShell users most likely know, it's a single line to add, and you'll be able to run this from outside of RDM.
Yeah.
So we've put a lot of work into supporting all of the aspects of Remote Desktop Manager, because in the past it managed entries, sessions. Now it manages users, documents, export files, import files.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. I think we have missed a few, but they've been already put in because, you know, we're already on version 12.4 now, so it's moving quickly, and we're planning version 13, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think my only question, guys, is about the Remote Desktop Manager mobile apps. I know that you have mobile apps for Android, iOS, and I'm not sure what the third OS is offhand. I haven't used them yet, but I'm wondering what the use case is there. If I'm an administrator and I'm on vacation and I have the RDM mobile app on my iPhone, let's say, what kinds of things would you expect I could do?
Well, the goal was to allow you to get at your passwords.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just emergency mode, your way.
Firewall.
Yeah, firewall. You're going to get your passwords, and you're going to be able to find some way to connect.
Yeah.
But as you can see, this is what did I say?
iOS.
iOS.
Yeah.
We can, since we're using our amazing FreeRDP, and we're using, repackage PuTTY being open source. So we've managed to have embedded RDP and SSH sessions even on the mobile devices. So you can see them running. You have an RDP and you have an SSH. VNC works, I believe.
Yeah, there's a couple already. We did a blog on the different integrations. I don't know if you want to scroll right a little bit more, just to see the other screenshots. So this is iOS. I would have said that a couple of months ago, but since I would say January this year, the mobile apps are really up to par with the desktop applications. It's not the same feature-rich application than the Windows or Mac or OS X, of course, but it allows you to, I would say, do 80 to 90% of your tasks using the mobile app, and everyone will agree that it's not very. We did it and we built it native, so it's very user-friendly. It's not the most, optimized way to work with different connections, of course, but as we mentioned in emergency calls, fire calls, I think it's one of the best app in the market. For and our team, we have dedicated teams for iOS, a dedicated team for Android, and we also have the third one you are working for is the Amazon Fire OS.
That's on Android.
This is another one. So that's pretty much where we're at with mobile applications. I see time running out. I don't know if you have other questions, Tim. One last thing I would have asked Maurice is to show maybe just a few 1 minute to show Keepass integration within the Remote Desktop Manager.
I have Keepass running. I was showcasing the mobile view. You know why we did that, huh? That's for tablets
Yeah.
And it was brought back in the desktop applications for our Surface loving friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Keepass.
I don't know if I caught you off guard, Maurice.
I'm always ready. Okay.
It's just very interesting, and you see, Tim, it's just very neat how you can use this password management solution that you're using. And we took Keepass because it's one of the most popular, but you'll see very quickly the relation between RDM and Keepass or any other password management is pretty neat.
So I'm gonna go on a limb, and I'm gonna choose that Keepass bridge. I'm using the user-specific settings. That's just a teaser because it's only for the logged on users. So if you need more info on that, just contact us. And when I choose that bridge, I'm offered this here. And I should show you that my vault is quite simple.
There you go.
But that's what I'm using here. And so I could choose that telemark credential at that parent folder level, or I could just simply not choose a specific one, and it will prompt me for that. Is
that a one-time import, or will it sync? If you added another Keepass entry, would it be reflected in RDM?
That's a dynamic link. It's not even persisted apart from that. So if I do create an entry in Keepass, you'll see it the next second in that dropdown.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now everything that uses inherited credentials would use that entry.
And there you go.
From Keepass.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for this presentation. Just wanted to thank Tim for being with us today. I invite everyone to remotedesktopmanager.com if you want to download the trial key. We also have a team. Maurice and his team are ready to, if you want to request live demos, you have any questions on the product, you want to see it with a custom live demo that you guys are. There you go. This is very neat with Maurice and his team. Again, thank you, Tim, for being with us today. Very appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
Time. Not a problem, and I'm sure we'll be able to do other presentations in the future. I'll be happy to have you as a guest speaker again.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Maurice.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye.
Have a good day.